Before we dive in, I've got something for you. If you're studying for the ARE, you don't need to figure it out alone. Inside my free resource hub, you'll find study guides, resource guides, pop quizzes, and other tools designed to make exam prep a whole lot easier. Head to dci.beyoungdesign.com/resources or check the link in the show notes to grab it now. It's completely free. All right, enjoy the show. Are you burning out trying to become an architect? What if I told you that the biggest mistakes that aspiring architects make has nothing to do with your design skills? Hey everyone, I'm Bren Young. I'm a licensed architect here in California, and this is Design, Create, Inspire. Today, I'm sitting down with Morgan Chawaga, aka the Healthy Architect, to expose the truth about the unhealthy grind culture of architecture and how it's holding you back. Morgan left her full-time architecture career to coach architects on thriving without sacrificing their health and happiness. If you're tired of hearing just work harder or feel stuck waiting for licensure before actually living your life, then this episode is for you. Find out why burnout isn't a badge of honor and the surprising ways to create balance and success. You're going to love this episode. It's so important to me to share information like this, Morgan, people like this who are literally changing the industry. The toxic culture doesn't have to continue, and it starts with us. All right, let's do it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Design, Create, Inspire. I'm so excited. Today we have Morgan Chawaga with us, and she is the Healthy Architect. Hi, Morgan.
Hi, Bryn. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on this platform. It's truly an honor.
I love it. Well, today we are going to go into how to go about becoming an architect in a healthy way. There's a lot of stress and turmoil that goes into becoming an architect, and that is where Morgan shines, making sure that our profession is enjoyable and also we're healthy as we go through it. So before we go into some of the mistakes that people are making in terms of their health as they're becoming architects, first, I would love you to share a little bit of your story and how you got into architecture or what your journey looked like.
Yeah, well, how much time do you have, Bryn? Because I could talk about that all day. So for those of you that don't know me, I am a licensed architect. I'm an Ivy League graduate. I'm a mother of two beautiful daughters. I have went the traditional architectural role and the untraditional architectural role as well. And now I am a career coach and founder of The Healthy Architect, where I teach architects how to stress less and make more. So going back a little bit about talking about my career and why I became an architect is because I wanted to change the world through architecture. I went to an Ivy League school, graduated, and went into the traditional architectural path. Quickly decided that that might not be for me. So I was hired on by actually one of my owners. So I then was an owner's rep who was responsible for hiring architects and hiring contractors. And then from there became a marketing director at an architecture firm. So that's kind of where my career path went. And about a year ago, I transitioned out of my being a director of marketing to being a full-time career coach for architects. You know, I get asked a lot of what made that transition happen. And a big part is something that you might not know, or maybe you do know, Bren, but maybe your listeners don't, is I burned out several times throughout my architectural career. And that really has had a lasting impact on the architecture, not only the architecture that I'm creating, but the people around me too. And so burning out and be able to get out of that burnout has really inspired me and inspired that jump to being a career coach.
I can totally relate to that because I wanted to become an architect to make impact too, and had these big dreams of, you see these famous architects designing these really incredible buildings and making such an impact on their communities. And
Yeah.
I hit burnout too. And I even, built up a successful firm. And I remember when I was starting to transition into education, I was like, oh my gosh, am I sabotaging myself? Like this was always my goal. And I have people come to me all the time say, you know, I hear architects are underpaid, or I hear they're really stressed out, and is it the right path for me? And seeing how different of a career I'm running now versus what I thought it was going to be, seeing how you have done that as well, really shows me that there isn't one size fits all in becoming an architect. And
No.
we both are still creating such incredible impact in a very different way that maybe we didn't realize was possible. And I just really wanted to hit on that, because if someone is inspired by architecture, wanting to do that, wanting to create that impact, there are so many different ways to go about that inside this career.
Yeah, there really are. I mean, I am making more of an impact on what I'm doing now than what I'd ever could have done in the traditional role of architecture. Now, my job is also to help individuals that are staying in architecture,
Mhm.
but that is a valuable point that depending who you are, maybe the traditional architectural path is not your path. It never was mine. Let me just make that very clear. I was the director of marketing at a firm. I was hiring contractors. So the traditional architectural role I knew was never my path. That was never what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. But you're absolutely right. I am making more of an impact now and more fulfilled in my career now than I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah, I think that's a really important distinction too, because same, like I'm helping people pass their licensing exams so that they can become architects. And that there's nothing wrong with that traditional path. And it is so
Mm.
beautiful. And I
It is.
see some people doing the most incredible things with it. I have friends who I went to school with who some are not even licensed yet and still doing like such incredible things in the
Yeah.
traditional roles. And it's so wonderful because if you do find yourself in that and you're thinking, like this doesn't feel super comfortable, or maybe I do want to go in this different route. Like, did I just waste all my time and money doing this? It's like, no, there's a
No.
space for everybody, which is so wonderful.
There is. And I also want to say something there is I think a lot of individuals that I work with or that come to me, one of their first words sometimes is, or one of the first sentences sometimes is, I want to get out of architecture. And my
Mm,
thought, or I want to change my architecture firm, right? And I want to just say this out loud is that, like, I want to know why. Is
mhm.
it because that you think if you change firms, your job is going to be less stressful? Or is it because you're not loving the people that you're working with right now? Would I really try? I will never deter somebody for looking for another firm or to get out of architecture, but we really need to understand the why behind it. And let me tell you why. If you're burning out in the firm that you are now, wherever you are now, or if you're a student and you're burning out in the university that you're at right now, chances are whatever you do to shift, you're probably going to burn out there too, right? So it's not um, it's a part of you. Burnout is a part of you until you figure out the maintenance strategies for it, until you figure out the deep why, the root behind it. It's not necessarily the firm that you're working at. It's not necessarily the university that you're going to. It's more so the mindset and the habits that you have created internally.
Yeah, because there's a reason why you chose architecture. You got in there, you've got as far as you have. And so if you're feeling like you want to leave it, yeah, understanding that why, and even also why you originally wanted to get into architecture and getting back to that root. Because I totally agree. Like if you're wanting to leave architecture, who's to say you'll be happier somewhere else and
Mhm.
not burn out? You know,
Yeah.
there's ups and downs with all sorts of different industry. So that brings me, I do want to talk about some mistakes that people are making in terms of health and whatnot, but that brings me to who are like, what does your typical client look like that comes to you? Where are they at in their stage of life where they're reaching out to you and saying like, Morgan, I need some help?
Quick break. If this podcast is helping you, imagine having an entire library of study content, 1,000+ practice questions, and a community of people who actually get what you're going through. That's what you'll find inside the ABC Club. And if you're ready for even more support, ABC Club Premium includes my full Mind Over ARE program, plus live coaching calls. Whether you're on your first exam or your last, this is where you'll stay motivated and on track. Learn more at dci.beyoungdesign.com/ABC Club.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think about this probably more than I should. Like, who is coming to me? Because when I market towards just architects in general. But the individuals that are coming to me are typically females, and they sometimes are licensed, sometimes are not licensed. But typically they're coming to me with an issue. They're saying, Morgan, I'm not happy where I'm at, and this is why I'm not happy. So they might say, I'm not happy with my salary. I'm not happy because I'm working 60-hour work weeks. I'm not happy because I want a different title, or I actually want to be doing more, I'm just throwing this out there, medical planning instead of doing project management. So it's really that they have a problem up front that they want to resolve within their career.
Okay, so I love that. So are they feeling like they've hit rock bottom? Is there a unhealthy aspect that they've gotten to, or they're feeling burned out? Or is it more of just like, hey, I'm feeling like I need to transition a little bit, or maybe that's not even, maybe there's not even a pattern there.
No, it's funny because I think about this pattern all the time, and it's very interesting. It's more so they come to me and it's not that they've hit rock bottom. It's more so that they're like, I know I'm meant for more. I know that I am capable of more. I am at this threshold where something has got to change, and I just don't know how to change it. That's typically where they are. Now, are they also burning out? Yeah. Are they also tired? Are they also irritated? Yeah, for sure. But they typically have a problem that they want to solve, right? I know that I'm making X amount of dollars, and I know that I should be valued at more. I just don't know how to strategically get there. Or I know that I shouldn't be working 60-hour work weeks. I know that, but I don't know how to stop it.
Yeah,
that is typically what comes
because
to me.
those are the two big things, right? Like that we hear all the time is that, or people DM me all the time, like high school students, like my dream is to become an architect, but my family says I need to become a doctor because architects work long hours and are underpaid. So what advice would you have for someone who is an aspiring architect? Like maybe they're still in school, or maybe they just graduated and they're being a little deterred by the workplace. What advice would you have for those people?
Really dig deep onto what you want. It doesn't matter what other people want. It doesn't matter what the world wants. It doesn't matter what your parents want. It doesn't matter what your coworkers want. It doesn't matter what students around you want. It doesn't matter what your professor wants. It only matters what you want. That's it, period. And it's sometimes hard to find that when there's so much noise around you saying, go this direction, do this. Absolutely don't move to that state. Don't go to that firm. You really need to know yourself so well that you trust your gut to make the decision that's best for you and not what other individuals want for you.
That is not easy. I mean, it's so easy to hear all the noise and wonder what is me, there, or what's something I've been told all my life. And that's so true, is the only person you can't escape basically is yourself. You're always going to be with yourself. And so figuring out how to get quiet enough, I think, and to be able to tap into that.
Yeah.
But it's not easy.
It's not easy. Absolutely not. I mean, I work on it daily, right? And I'm in my 30s. So it's something that you have to work on daily.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I want to talk about some mistakes that you see happening that maybe even lead up to this unfulfillment, or really the health. It's the healthy architect. And that is something I always was really big on, like anti studio culture, the unhealthy side of things. So what are some mistakes that you see either in architecture school or just in the architecture career? And what advice do you have for people of how they can maybe start making a change to feel good?
Yeah, absolutely. So It's funny because I think about, I'm going to get to these three key points, but I think about who I was in graduate school and who I was in undergraduate school. And if some of my friends and peers during that time are listening to the podcast and they're like, oh, Morgan was the one that actually pulled all-nighters and chugged coffee. You know, she was the one in studio 24/7 that would sleep in studio, right? And I say that laughingly now, but it actually is. It's sad, right? Like I would never want my daughters to sleep in studio.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we can go into that, but I just wanted to preface this that I have not always been a healthy architect.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I'm preaching it now, because I see now that when you are a healthy architect, I see that your world is limitless.
Mm-hmm.
You can have so much impact if you actually prioritize your health. And so we'll go into like what health is and all of those other things, but you just asked me what were the three biggest mistakes. I think number one is being so relentlessly dedicated to working and studying, meaning 100% of your time goes to working and studying. And when I was studying for my licensure exams, right, I'm an overachiever like most of us are. You probably are if you're listening to this podcast. I wanted to get them done as soon as possible so I could get married and have kids and get the promotion and get a salary raise, right? And at that point in my time, I was dedicating 100% of my time, weekends, evenings, to working and studying. And so I tell my clients who are going through licensure exam to really build in, if they want to make this career a long-term career, if they actually want to enjoy the process. And I believe now that there's not a rolling time clock, right? Yeah, there's not a rolling time clock. It is wonderful to have deadlines. It is wonderful to have goals for yourself internally, but don't put so much pressure on that because you have to enjoy the process, right? And I love that I think that's part of what you're doing too, Bren, is helping students actually enjoy the process. But dedicating time to other things while you're studying and even working. So dedicating times to, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out there, but playing pickleball or going and getting a massage or stepping outside to take a walk or meditating or taking a cooking class or whatever is enjoyable to you, dedicating time to that, not yearly, not monthly, not weekly, but daily. Daily, you need to be doing something that is not architecture and not showering, right? like
If you even
yes,
get to that.
right. What? Yeah, exactly. Not making coffee, not shower, but something else that actually fills your cup. And that is going to make you not only a better architect long term, it's going to help you enjoy the process. It's going to give your mind some space to rest. It's going to help you have better sleep. It's going to create long-term impact instead of just short-term, I need to get licensed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's so critical. And I'm the same way. Like I I mean, I worked two jobs while I was in school, and then I had a baby while I was in school. So I didn't have the luxury of even being able to pull all-nighters at studio. Doesn't mean that I was a healthy architect, right? Or aspiring
Right.
architect, because I was
Yeah.
doing all the things. And
Yeah.
I really, I knew at my core, I knew people would say, have balance, but I really didn't believe it because
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't experienced it honestly until probably a year ago when I was forced into it
Mm-hmm.
and was my daughter's daycare shut down and I couldn't find anything in the middle of the year and I did a meditation with you like, oh my God, it
Mm-hmm.
was the last day of her daycare. I'm like, what am I going to do? I was panicking. And
Yeah.
it literally forced me into slowing down and saying no and prioritizing. And I thought everything was going to go up in flames, that the business I
Yeah.
had worked for a decade building was going to blow up. And it was so crazy because the opposite happened. Like
Wow.
slowing down allowed me to get really clear. I wasn't just creating busy work just to stay busy. Even though I didn't think consciously that I was doing that before, I realized
Oh.
with all this space that I was. And I
Yeah.
see that all the time with people, is that it's really, it's easy to say, I can't, I'm busy, I don't have time. But what if you were forced into this? What would be the top priorities to work or to studying? And then how can you allow space for other things in your life too? Because unless you're forced into it, I know it can be really hard. And so little baby steps of it and realizing that do less, but better. That was my whole
Yeah.
like mantra for last year. And it is so possible.
It is so possible. Absolutely. And I don't believe when people say you don't have time. I don't have time.
Mhm.
Morgan, I don't have time for one more thing on my plate. I promise you that when you make time daily for something that is not architecture and is not studying, your studying is going to be more impactful,
Mhm.
period.
Mhm.
And if I were to go back to my younger self and all my clients as well, I recommend making that self-care, whatever that is, number one before you study.
Mhm.
And actually, before you go to work in the morning, before you do anything else, spend time with yourself
Mhm.
and in something that is not architecture related. And I promise you, it's going to make you a better architect.
Yes. I love that. That's so good.
Yeah. And, we can talk about the time thing, but that's a mindset. So we'll go into the next. Number two is mindset around everything, but specifically I wrote down mindset that not being licensed is deterring you from X, Y, or Z. Okay.
Yes.
So licensure, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir with you right now, Bryn, but licensure is a process. Okay. And some of my clients say, well, I'll wait to get married, after I'm licensed, or I'll wait to negotiate the salary after I'm licensed. I will wait to negotiate X, Y, and Z after I'm licensed. Because in their mind, they're probably thinking, I'm not worthy of this yet. I'm not worthy of a higher salary because I'm not licensed. I'm not worthy um, of having this beautiful marriage because I'm not licensed yet. I need to get licensed first, or whatever the fact might be. You can and you should. And my architecture clients are living examples of negotiating higher salaries before they're licensed, negotiating maternity leaves before they are licensed and before they're pregnant, actually,
Mm.
getting married before they're licensed. So don't think that licensure is this gate that when it opens, now you're giving yourself permission to do all of these things. I saw that little, do them now.
Mhm.
Now is the time,
Yeah.
period. I have clients that have created architecture firms, and guess what? They're not licensed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't have to put your life on hold for this one thing.
Right. Absolutely. Live your life, love your life. There is
Mhm.
time. I promise you, other architects are doing it. There is time for it all.
Yeah, and your life will always get full, right? Like it's like the law of the vacuum, right? Space will fill whatever wherever there's a void. And so
Mhm.
your life, your time will be busy, whether you're married or have kids or are doing licensure or whatever. Like so many people tell me they're waiting on becoming a parent because they want to get licensed first. It's like, you will make time for whatever is the priority and it will get full because you have people who aren't working full-time jobs, don't have kids, and they don't have time for studying. Or you have people on
Mhm.
the full opposite side of the spectrum who don't have time. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's critical.
You just always have to know where your north arrow is pointing, right? You have to know what your master plan is for your life. So if your master plan is to get licensed and to have two kids and a happy marriage on a farm, you can have that.
Mhm.
Doesn't You don't have to get licensed first. You just have to continue asking yourself, is the decision I'm making today, is that pointing my north arrow towards my bigger master plan?
Yeah, and
Right?
what goes with both of those things, those both topics is when you put such high expectations on this licensure in order to create everything else, that makes really high stakes. So if you're not passing an exam at the exact time that you were expecting to, it feels so much more detrimental and so much heavier because now it's not just a failed exam. Now you're thinking, oh my gosh, now I can't have my wedding. Now my wedding's delayed or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Enjoy the process. And, you just said a word, fail. You failed. I will be very transparent here. I failed every exam once except for CE. I passed that one the first time. So it took me multiple exams. My exam process was not easy. It was not linear. It was much harder than I expected. It was heavier than I expected. Um, but to my third point here, and this is the third point that I'll wrap up on what I would have done differently and what I teach my architecture clients to do differently, is to fail as many times as possible and to get back up and continue on. Failure, in many senses, not every sense, but in many senses, is a good thing, period. And I think a lot of times, maybe it's just me, maybe it's architects, I don't know, but individuals see failure as a bad thing. And in my eyes, I'm teaching my daughters we literally at the dinner table, we say, what did you fail on today? Tell me what you failed on. And then what did you learn?
I love
And
that.
then how are we going to get back up and keep going? Because that's life, right? So you might see your peers that are passing exams the first time around. Wonderful. Clap for them, cheer them on. But if that's not your process, then that's great. What did you learn from it? And what are you going to take moving forward? It's really the amount of time that it takes you to get back up and keep going.
Yeah. I mean, they say all the time that success is a crappy teacher, right? Because you don't learn the lessons from the success. And I truly, truly believe that I know detailing way better because I failed PPD and PDD multiple times. I feel like I am a better architect because I failed multiple exams.
Yeah. So don't get down on yourself if you fail, right? It's a part of the process.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel good, right? So it's okay to like have that happen, feel the feels, and then also realize, okay, what can I learn from this? And I say this too because I didn't realize this when I was starting my exams, is that the exams aren't just getting you to become a licensed architect. You go into really learning and uncovering who you are as a person, how you handle failure, how you handle really hard things. Because, like you've said, a lot of architects are straight A students or Ivy League grads or people who haven't experienced maybe a lot of failure in their life. And so these exams can be really, really confronting. And so figuring out how to fail in a constructive way, that's so much of what I help teach too, because a lot of people haven't learned that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm going to say the fourth thing, I'm adding this one on. It wasn't on my list, but I'm adding this on. Find a mentor that doesn't necessarily have to be in the firm that you're working at. It doesn't necessarily have to be at the university that you are going to school at. Actually doesn't even have to be an architect.
Yes.
Okay. But find a mentor who you want to be when you are older. Okay. And I do this all of the time. I surround myself with individuals that maybe aren't older, but they are quote unquote, well, I don't even want to say more successful than me, but have gotten to a place in life that I want to be at. And they are my mentors. So find a mentor who you believe in, who you trust, who you ask questions for guidance. One of those is Bryn. One of those could be me, or somebody else, but find somebody who has went through that process and that can guide you.
Yeah, it's so important. I was very much I can do it all myself type person. And I didn't find mentors until later in my career. And it's like, yes, you can do it all yourself. You can figure it all yourself. You can be independent. But you can jump quicker to like full on new lifetimes
Yeah.
through mentorship and through guidance. And even honestly, like you said, it doesn't even have to be an architecture. One of my biggest mentors isn't even an architect. And the biggest thing that I've learned from him is just how things can be possible. So what's possible, right? Because we are only limited by what we see in our reality. When you expose yourself to people in doing things that maybe you're not doing or where you want to be, and you see what's possible, it literally opens up new realities.
A whole new world.
Mhm.
A whole new world. I got my first client recently who doesn't live in the United States, lives in Australia. Never did I think that that would be a possibility for me to have clients, architecture clients in Australia, in a different country, right? But, I got to thinking, there are so many architects around the world, and maybe they live in smaller towns or smaller cities, or maybe they go to a university, and that's their network. That's their bubble. That's what they know, right? So if you work at an architecture firm, this is your first architecture firm, you think, and it's maybe not, maybe it's a toxic environment. Maybe there's a toxic culture there. That does not mean that architecture is toxic and all architects work 60, 80 hours a week, right? So the beauty of what you're doing, Bren, and the beauty of what I'm doing is exposing architects that might not be exposed to the possibilities. We're exposing that to them, right? So reach out to people that are online as well, right? As mentors. One of my biggest mentors I met online in the architecture industry.
Yeah. Digital or social media can be toxic, but it can also be so empowering, and finding the right people on there can be game changer. I love that. Okay. So for people who are listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, Morgan, I need to work with you. You're speaking my language. Where can people find you?
Yeah, well, you can find me on www.thehealthyarchitect.org. If you're on Instagram, it's at _healthy_architect_. You can also email me.
I'll put it all
You'll
too
link
in
it
there,
all.
but yeah.
Yeah. I've got a Facebook page, a Facebook community of healthy architects called The Healthy Architects, or you can email me at morgan@thehealthyarchitect.org. Again, I'm a career coach for architects that help architects stress less and make more, whether you're licensed or not.
It's so critical, and people just aren't doing that in a way that, it's always, how can you make more, or how can you just pass exams the quickest way you can? And the biggest critical difference is how to do it in a holistic, healthy way to make it sustainable, make you enjoy this career, bring back the passion even in this space.
Yeah. If you are not enjoying every single day of your life, you need to change right now, because you should be enjoying every single day of your life. And it is possible. And I work with architects daily that are enjoying every single day of their life and career.
I love that. Well, I'll post all of the links below. Go follow Morgan, reach out, DM her, let her know what you took away from this, what you are going to be implementing in your career and in your schooling or wherever you are at in life. And thank you again so much for being here and making time for this.
Bren, thank you for your platform. Also, thank you for everything that you have done, making the process to licensure a little bit more fun with your book. You are making huge changes in our profession, and I just want to give you a shout out as well.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll talk soon.
Bye, Bren.
Bye.
Thanks for listening today. Hey, remember, you've got free resources waiting for you at dci.beyoungdesign.com/resources. And when you're ready for deeper support and to come hang out with us, join us inside the ABC Club and ABC Club Premium, where you are going to get the help you need to pass your exam and actually enjoy the process. So don't let another week go by without moving forward. Take action. You got this. Check the links in the show notes and join us inside the club.